Hey, yo everyone, Andrew here, bringing you another video, and today we're going to be doing my Andrew Cutter video game Showdown Week 2. Now, for those of you that did not see my previous video about this, basically what I'm doing is every Monday for a couple weeks I'm going to be doing a countdown of sorts pertaining to video games. Now, last week was my top 10 favorite Metroid games of all time, and this week is going to be my top 10 favorite Zelda games of all time. And the week after that, I'm going to do Mario, and the week after that, I'm going to do Xbox games, and who knows, I might continue onwards with something else. The reason why I'm doing these videos to celebrate my love for video games. Video games are great. They're an escape into a world full of endless possibilities. And it is absolutely fun to play. It doesn't matter what age you are, you can play a video game and enjoy it. So today we're going to be talking about The Legend of Zelda, my favorite video game series of all time. Now, a lot of people who watch my channel and my videos probably already know what my favorite Zelda game is. I haven't kept it a secret. However, that's not the point of this countdown. Whereas with my Metroid or with my Xbox or with my Mario countdown, you guys might want to see what my favorite of those games are. With Zelda, it's more about seeing where all the other games stack up. See, where you may know what my number one is, do you know what my number two or my number three or number four is? It really is going to be more interesting to take a look at what exactly I put certain games in and see how they stack up to each other. Because, see, my opinion on Zelda games have fluctuated over the past 3 years. Certain games have gone up big time, in my opinion, and certain games have fallen a bit. Despite all this, Zelda is still my favorite video game franchise, period. Whether I'm playing it as a little kid, playing the original Legend of Zelda with my brother, or if I'm playing as a teenager, the Ocarina of Time, or if I'm playing as an adult with Skyward Sword, I love Zelda. It is a game that has influenced my life in some way, shape, or form. I'm not going to go into detail about that, but I do love Zelda. It has everything I want in a game: adventure, fighting, puzzles, an epic sense, and a great story. And the story doesn't have to be complicated or convoluted. It's just a simple story that is handled very nicely. So, without any further ado, let's actually get into the countdown itself. Today we are going to be dealing with my top 10 favorite Zelda games of all time. Now, let me just say this was not an easy thing to do. There's a lot of games that are actually interchangeable in their positions. And there's a lot of games I wanted to add on to this countdown. Zelda games that I love to death, but I did not. Because I can only do 10. And it wouldn't be fair to do a top 10 and have there be a lot of ties so I can have every Zelda game in there. That would be wrong. No, this is my, as of this point, my definitive top 10 favorite Zelda games list. And this could change over the years, you never know, but right now, this is my definitive list. So, coming in at number 10 for the Game Boy, Legend of Zelda Oracle of Seasons. Technically, this is, I believe, the second Zelda game that I personally owned. What I have to convey to you guys is a lot of the games that I played before the N64, I played on my brother's system, so he really owned them. I think the only game I owned was on the Genesis, and it was The Lion King. It wasn't until the N64 that I actually started getting games on my own. My first Zelda game that I personally owned, bought, owned was Ocarina of Time, and then I got the Game Boy Oracle Seasons. I played the living death out of this game. Um, Back in grade school, I believe it was seventh and eighth grade that I were playing these games too, because I was at a certain school and I remember it being those grades I was at the school. I remember that during that time we had a free period and everyone would just kind of chill and talk like that. I'd be the kid over in the corner playing Oracle Seasons. A person would come up to me and they'd be like, "Hey Andrew, you want to hang?" I'm like, "I'm sorry, right now I'm fighting General Onyx," or "I'm sorry, right now I'm trying to get an extra ring." I was obsessed with this game. Oracle Seasons is for me the pinnacle of the 2D Zelda Game Boy games. A lot of people say it's Minish Cap. A lot of people say it's a Link to the Past. I mean, Link's Awakening, which a lot of people think is Link's Awakening. No, it's for me. It's Oracle Seasons. Took everything that was good about Link's Awakening and made it better. Grand open world, lots of great levels, lots of great bosses, great gameplay. Overall, it was a solid game, and I played this game through, and the light is reflecting off the case too much. Can see it better there. Um, and it's kind of funny because Oracle of Ages, which won't be on this countdown, because Oracle of Ages is actually one of my least favorite Zelda games, so that's kind of funny. But Oracle Seasons, I played this shit out of this game. Moving on, um, for originally the Super Nintendo and also been ported to the Game Boy Advance, would be Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, like I said, Oracle of Seasons was kind of the pinnacle of the 2D Zeldas for the Game Boy Advance for me, or the Game Boy in general, the regular Game Boy. I think that A Link to the Past is the pinnacle of the 2D Zelda. It is the standard status quo when it comes down to 2D Zeldas. The great thing about A Link to the Past is it kind of just throws you into this world. It tells you, excuse me, you know, in games these days, a lot of time is taken in tutorials. And look to the past, there is no tutorial. Here's your sword, have a good time. Well, there is like a small mini dungeon, but you really can't count that. In other games, games are a lot more complicated these days. With A Link to the Past, you only had like 4 buttons you worked with. But still, it was a great game, and it's a status quo to Zelda games for the 2D platforming. Uh, Excellent story. It's a beautiful looking game, with the exception of Link's hair being pink or purple. Um, Great items. A lot of the items in this game are the items that get transitioned over into later games. Um, and just overall, it was a challenging game. It's a game that you can just roam around in the open world for quite some time. Really enjoyed Link to the Past. A really fun game, and it makes it as my number 9 on my Zelda list. Which, it's kind of funny. A lot of people put it higher, and it was higher on my list for quite some time. But you know, things change. Okay, moving on to the number 8 slot would be Legend of Zelda. Whoop, grab the wrong one. Legend of Zelda: The Phantom Hourglass for the Nintendo DS. I held off on a Nintendo DS for a long time, and I think it was 2007 this came out. It wasn't until 2007 that I actually picked up a Nintendo DS, and the only reason why I picked it up is for this game, a Zelda game. Phantom Hourglass is by no way, shape, or form a perfect Zelda game. There is a lot of faults to this. But in saying that, I really enjoyed this game. I thought it had good gameplay. I thought it had some great graphics for what the DS was handing out at the time. Uh, it continued Wind Waker's story, which I like. I do like direct sequels sometimes in Zelda. Not too many direct sequels, but still direct sequels. And it was, there was some cool items in this. I really like the Phantom Hourglass sword. Um, it was just overall a good game. The only really complaint I had with it, other than a few game control mechanics, is that Tetra's been reduced to the damsel in distress, where in Wind Waker she was actually a full-fledged, well fleshed out character. But hey, whatever, it happens. Still, Phantom Hourglass is a really, 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 really fun game. Really did enjoy this. Um, and it really was the game that kind of made me fall in love with the handheld Zelda games again. Because after I played this, I went and I replayed a lot of the Zelda handhelds. Okay, so after Phantom Hourglass, we have the Legend of Zelda: Four Swords Adventures for the Nintendo GameCube. Boy, was this a game fun! Of the Four Swords games, we have Legend of Zelda: Four Swords, which you can play on the A Link to the Past. Surprisingly, they have the special feature, or you can download it on your 3DS. You can download it free, actually. Or I don't think you can do that anymore. You can only do that for the 25th anniversary time. But um, you have the Four Swords games, then you have Minish Cap, and then you have Four Swords Adventure. And I think it's Four Swords Adventure that pulls off the four link controlling scheme a lot better than the other games. Uh, Particularly with first player, because with four players, everyone controls something. But when I play Zelda games, I play alone. I don't play with other people. I don't like playing with other people. It's a personal experience that I get to enjoy. So I like the fact that this handled the four player or the one player four link control scheme very nicely. It's a lot different from other Zelda games because it's very linear. uh, you only get a certain amount of health per level. There's levels, and in addition to that, you drop items and you pick them up and you drop them. For example, you get the bow, but then you'll drop the bow for the boomerang, then you'll drop the boomerang for the bombs. Very untraditional in Zelda. However, for what it is, it works well because it adds a new level of gameplay to it. The fact that you have to be very scarce and you have to be very sure of what you're choosing for weapons, because certain puzzles will yield different results depending on what weapon you use, what tools you use, or items. So, you might need a bomb somewhere and you drop the bombs back there because you wanted the bow for some reason, or you want the fire rod. The thing is it does have a good level of gameplay mechanics to it when it comes down to that. That and this is somewhat of a spiritual sequel to A Link to the Past, in a way. Not too much, but I mean, it got that Link to the Past feel. More so than I think it had a Minish Cap or Four Swords feel. Uh, but Four Swords Adventure, really fun. I played the shit out of this game. Coming in at number 6. Yes, we're already at number 6. Uh, Legend of Zelda Spirit Tracks. Legend of Zelda Spirit Tracks is pound for pound my favorite of the handheld Zelda games. Um, every problem that was with Phantom Hourglass gets fixed in Spirit Tracks in some way, shape, or form. And the funny thing is when I first went to Spirit Tracks, I'm like, Link as a conductor on a train? Really? Really? Seriously, are we gonna do this? But it works out beautifully. The world in Spirit Tracks is a beautiful world. The gameplay is very well polished. There's a lot to do in this game. It's pretty bold too because spoiler, although it's not much of a spoiler, Zelda dies in the very first like 5 minutes. She's a ghost throughout the game, but she dies in the first few minutes. There's some pretty bold moves done in this game, and in addition to that, I felt as though you'll find that a lot of my Zelda games that I like on my top 10 list have characters that are very well developed as you can make them in a Zelda game because, Link doesn't speak. You can still get a character from him, but it won't be as fleshed out as, say, I don't know, Batman. Because Batman speaks, you get a sense of his character. You have to get a sense of Link's character through what he does and how he reacts to certain things. But I thought the Zelda in this Spirit Track Zelda was a lot more entertaining, had a lot more personality than most of the other Zeldas out there. Um, really good game. The only complaint with it is I felt as though the final boss was a bit of a ripoff of Ganon, but besides that, it was a really good game, and it's the atmosphere, the scenery, just the overall design of the world was a beautiful design. I really did like looking at this game, looking at the world, and just soaking it all in. It was beautiful. And I'm gonna replay Spirit Tracks again at some point soon. I have so many games on my plate right now, so I don't have a chance. But this was a beautiful game. If anyone is hesitant of the handheld games, don't be, because this proves on how good a handheld Zelda game is. And the funny thing is I was talking to my friend at work, one of my friends, who's never played a Zelda game in his life. Um, but he's played a lot of Nintendo games where Link has crossed over into like Brawl or Melee, and he's saying like he's. I was stating that I love almost every Zelda game. There's only two Zelda games I would never replay. And that's Adventure of Link and Oracle of Ages. And he's saying, well, what about the stupid DS handhelds? I'm like, whoa, you calm down there. The DS handhelds are some of the best of the Zelda games. They are really well done, well polished games, and really good, really enjoyable. Love this game. I don't want to spend too long talking about one game because we're already 14 minutes into it. Um, But yeah, Spirit Tracks. Uh, again, not to go on Spirit Tracks too long. The other thing Spirit Tracks did is it brought a new game mechanic, having Zelda as a ghost, being able to take over things. And in addition to that, I didn't think the game would be great, but it turned out to surprise me, and that's what I look for in games. Games that surprise me positively, not negatively, positively. So we're at the top five. What are the top five? Well, you're just gonna have to see. Coming in at number five, for the Nintendo GameCube and also for the Nintendo Wii. However, I got the GameCube version. Would be Legend of Zelda: Twilight Princess. You know, Twilight Princess wasn't on my list for a while, and the reason why is because Twilight Princess by and by is a very easy Zelda game, and it's a very status quo Zelda game in that it has a lot of similarities from Ocarina of Time. It's a very spiritual sequel to Ocarina of Time, so in that it kind of feels a little unoriginal. However, looking back on it, and thinking hard, and especially with certain games that have come out before and after it, and looking at those games and doing kind of a little comparison. Twilight Princess is actually a lot better of a game than I gave it credit for back in the day. Now, let me point out the goods and the bads with Twilight Princess and give you guys an overall feel. Um, and we might as well start off hardcore with some of the bads. The game is very easy. I can go through Twilight Princess in one sitting if I needed to. I went through this game like no tomorrow. It was a easy game, and a very quick game if you know how to play it. Two is that it did not succeed with the Wii Motions like Skyward Sword did. Granted, it was before Wii Motion Plus came out, but it's always been kind of a weird hybrid game. It's a GameCube game made for the Wii, or it really plays better on the GameCube than it does on the Wii because it's just overall it does not succeed as a Wii game. It succeeds as a GameCube game. Uh, it's geared towards new players because every time I pick up something, it'd be like, "You got 5 rupees. You can spend these 5 rupees," and then it'll stop that. But if I turn off the game, and I turn it back on, it'll do that again. So that's an annoyance. So it does a lot of easy things for certain people. In addition to that, there's a lot of reoccurring Zelda themes that does make it not feel so unoriginal. First temple is a forest temple, then you go to a fire temple, then you go to a water temple, then a desert-based temple. Oh, there's a snow temple. All of these were in Ocarina of Time to one degree. There wasn't a snow temple, but there was still the ice caverns, which was kind of a mini dungeon. Um, so there were those downsides. Oh, and the biggest downside to me, the biggest, is that the Zelda and Link in this are so forgettable. They have no personality and they have no dynamic. Um, I was talking about that with Spear Tracks, how Zelda was a fleshed out character that I can enjoy. The Zelda in this, I didn't really give two shits about. Granted, she probably looks like the best Zelda, but I just didn't care about her. In Link in this, he does have some emotions here and there, but I really didn't care for him either. Um, and Ganondorf, this was, I think, personality wise, the worst interpretation of Ganondorf because he comes off as more of a brute than a evil king. The only character that really stood out for me was Minda. I thought she was funny, enjoyable, and kooky. Good. Let's soften the wounds now with the good. Visually, this is an absolute beautiful Zelda game, which I will say has the most beautiful castle. I know that's not a big thing, but Hyrule castles took my breath away. It was so beautiful. This is an absolutely stunning and beautiful game. It is a big game. Granted that, a lot of the big, there's not much to do, but still, it is a big game. And I love huge games. It allows me to go to a lot of places. Um, and that ties in with how beautiful it is. Is how beautiful it is, it ties in very nicely with how big it is. I don't know if that makes sense, but it does to me. Uh, Retroactively, this ties into Skyward Sword very nicely. And I say retroactively because Skyward Sword had not come out yet. I don't know if they had the idea of Skyward Sword yet when they were doing this. Originally, I thought all the stuff they were talking about was Ocarina of Time's Link, but that made no sense. It's just the only thing I can identify it with. Like, the hero shade we do know is Ocarina of Time Link, but like for example, the clothing of the hero, I thought that was Ocarina of Time Link's tunic, just upgraded and updated a bit. But no, it's actually Twilight Prince, Skyward Sword's tunic. The Master Sword, how it's connected a bit more to Skyward Sword than it's actually connected to Ocarina of Time. Subtleties here and there. Um, so retroactively, it ties in nicely with Skyward Sword, and it does tie nicely into Ocarina of Time with the little nods here and there, even with the songs with the Howling Stones. So that is nice too. And despite the fact that I said that it is not a good Wii game in comparison to Skyward Sword, which is an unfair thing, but it is a decent GameCube game, and it does take everything that was good about Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and Wind Waker, gameplay wise, control wise, and implements it into this. And there was a lot of fun things I liked about the items. For example, I liked taking bombs and putting them on arrows. And I thought the enemies were really cool too. Really cool enemies. Like I said, Twilight Princess has a lot of ups and downs. I'm gonna be buying it for the Wii because I actually don't have it for the Wii. I'm gonna go buy it for the Wii some point. I'm gonna play on the Wii and do a comparison between the Wii and the GameCube version. But this was a good game and it was a fun game, and that's what you have to take from it. It's not gonna come out as the best Zelda game of all time, but it's a fun game, and that's what's important. I do enjoy this game greatly. And I know I hopped on a lot when I was, in the past, but looking back on it, it really is a beautiful, fun game. Moving on, we're going to go to a game that was my number one game for the longest time, and it's now uh, what is it, number four? Wow. Coming at number four would be Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. And there's been like 9 million versions. GameCube, Virtual Console, N64, Nintendo 3DS, which I have all of them. Although my N64 one is over at my brother's house. But um, Ocarina of Time. Ocarina of Time was really the Zelda game that got me into Zelda. When I was younger, like I told you guys, I would play Zelda over my brother's house. Not my brother's house, with my brother. And it's kind of funny because he named my character in it not Link, but Dick. So I was going around as a dick the whole time. Thanks a lot, John. But the fact of the matter is I would play Zelda games when I was young. I would play my friend's A Link to the Past. I would play my brother's Legend of Zelda or my brother's Adventure of Link. I would have all these things, and I would be playing them, but they were never mine. When I got Ocarina of Time, that's the game that got me into Zelda fully, and it is one of the most innovative and immersive games of its time. Um, the reason why this game I brought it down a notch on a few notches on my list is just that by comparison to all the rest of the games, it's not quite as in depth as the rest of the games that are on the list. Number one, two, and three. It's still a beautiful game, great world, great atmosphere. Um, but it just I don't know, the depth of it isn't quite as much as the previous the following games that you guys are going to see. In addition to that, after you beat Ocarina of Time for the first time, it's going to become one hell of an easy game from that point on. Even doing the Master Quest, I can destroy the Master Quest. The first time I went through it, I could destroy the Master Quest. A lot of people have trouble with it. My friend could not get past the Fire Temple, and surprisingly enough, the Deku Tree without my help. But in saying that, Ocarina of Time has a great story, great characters, fun, memorable characters. Really is a beautiful world. I think the best version of it out right now is the 3DS one. Graphically, it's the best. Adds some new features. It just upgrades everything that is of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. But really, I love this game to death. It will always be in my heart. But it did fall a bit, and I said to you guys, the viewers, the people that watch my videos, I said I'm always looking for a game to beat out Ocarina of Time. And once I got that game, I started to realize some of the shortcomings of Ocarina of Time. I see how some games are a little bit better. So, Ocarina of Time still a game that I treasure in my heart. Um, and number four on my favorite Zelda games list. Coming in at number three, and I don't actually have the original casing for this game, but would be Legend of Zelda's Majora's Mask. I have it on the collector's edition, as you can see in the back here. Um, I don't have the original N64 version because I never got the original N64 version. What is this? Oh, that makes sense. It's my memory cards. I keep all my important memory cards in my Zelda cases. Majora's Mask. Majora's Mask is the sequel to Ocarina of Time, and it is also the opposite. Where Ocarina of Time is about this big epic quest, Majora's Mask is about all the smaller things, all the smaller side quests, and it really is, and it handles it so very nicely. There's, it's dark without being dark. It's not dark for the sake of being dark. It's a very bright, vibrant, colorful world, but it's dark in the sense that everyone in this world is going to die. In 3 days, everyone's going to die. And particularly one of my favorite storylines is, and the names escape me, but the woman and her fiance who's been turned to a little kid after you go through the quest and you get every single mask that you need to and every single item you need to do the quest over the 3 days, on the last minute of the last hour of the last day, do you reunite the two and they're about to die and they're happy because they're together. Sure, one of them stuck as a kid and the other one's stuck as an adult, but they don't care because they're together, even though the world is about to end. That's deep stuff. Um, Majora's Mask really had solid gameplay like Ocarina of Time did. It did add a few things here and there. And the mask stuff was great too. My favorite mask was the bunny hood because it let you get everywhere quickly. I used it more than Epona. Um, but the masks were really fun. Great final boss battle. The Bajora was a great final boss battle. And it just has so much stuff to do. The only shortcoming that comes from Majora's Mask is if you do not do the side quests. I don't know who wouldn't, but if you were to just play the main quest, you can go through this game in half a day. It is a very quick game. Four levels, four dungeons, final dungeon. That's it. It's a fairly quick game, especially if you've gone through it a couple times like I have. But it's not about the main quest in this game. It's about the side quest, and it really is a very well done Zelda game, very deep Zelda game. So, Wind Waker is my number three. Not Wind Waker. Majora's Mask. Was that a Freudian slip? No. Probably because coming in at number two is The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. I know I'm bordering on 30 minutes, a half hour here, but allow me to explain something. When I first saw the pictures of Wind Waker, I had the same impression as everyone else was. WTF. What's happened to Zelda? Why are we doing these cartoony graphics? What's going on? When the game came out, I bought it and I started to forget about the graphics. And then I started playing again and again, and I started to not only appreciate the graphics, but I love the graphics. The cell shading of Link and everything else in this Zelda game is beautiful. Link is very expressive in this game. His facial features are great. This has a great charm to the game. The characters in the game are really good. Tetra is a great Zelda, an actually well-defined Zelda, who's not a damsel in distress all through the game. This is the best version of Ganondorf, a very sympathetic Ganondorf to me. A Ganondorf that, yeah, he's evil and he wants to rule the world, but he also wants to return back to his life where he can feel the desert sand and the hot sun on him. He misses his people, he misses his world. So, very sympathetic, and a really nice Ganondorf. The Link in this is just an absolute charming little boy. He's a fun character to play with and a fun character to be, and it really is great to see his journey unfold. This is a humongous, probably the biggest Zelda game. And you know what it is? It's an adventure game. You're not told where to go or what to do. It's an adventure game. It is full on out in the ocean adventure. I could talk for hours about how great Wind Waker is and how it went from a game that I was really worried about to a game that blew me away. It really is an amazing Zelda game. Um, and it just shows when everything comes together how great something can be. The only downside to Wind Waker is this: searching for the Triforce pieces. That is annoying as hell. That is really annoying. But besides that, Wind Waker has some of the best story, best gameplay, best bosses. Really is one of the best Zelda games of all time. I treasure this game. I really do. And I think it's a game that everyone should pick up and everyone should own and everyone should enjoy. Plain, flat, and simple. It is that good. So yeah, Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. Second favorite Zelda game of all time. Now, as I said, you guys probably know this. It's no big secret. I'm not going to spend too long talking about it. But my favorite Zelda game of all time is Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. This game is amazing. Do you guys really want me to go through it on everything that I like about this game? Probably not. So I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. If you want to see what I really, my full feelings on this game, I already did a review of it. You can just watch that review. But ready? Gameplay, amazing. Not only with the one-to-one sword play, oh, that is fantastically done. It is also with the dungeons, the enemies, the overall world. How the game plays is amazing. Story is, for a game that they said they weren't going to put too much into story, the story was fantastic. Uh, Simple to a degree, but fleshed out also. The characters, great. Best Zelda, period. She's not a damsel in distress. She doesn't need to be saved, except for at the very, very end. But she is her own character, who has its own unique sense to her, and I really do like her character. It's very cutesy, and very caring and loving at the same time. Link, best Link. A Link that you grow with, a Link that you become, a Link that is truly is. He's his own character and he's you at the same time, which is really good. And the enemies are really awesome. Girahim and Demise are great bad guys. Skyloft is beautiful. Overall, this game is just amazing. It is everything I want in a Zelda game, and it pulled it off. Um, it is the pinnacle Zelda game, and for me, I can't really say any more than that. I can go in constantly about how great this game is. If you want to hear more about how much I love this game, just go and watch my Skyward Sword review. But I love Skyward Sword to death. It is love it. Um, so yes, that is my top 10 Zelda video game countdown. The games I love to death, and there's a bunch of Zelda games that aren't on this list that I love to death. But these are the 10 that I love the most. Um, I recommend everyone pick up these games and play them. Okay? Because they are fantastic games. I'm going to end this video here. Next week, I'm going to be talking about my top 10 favorite Mario games. The week of that, I'm going to be doing my top 10 favorite Xbox games. And then we'll go from there with if I do anything else. If you guys have any suggestions you want to see, just let me know. With that said, I'm going to end this video here. This is Andrew saying peace out for now.